I graduated from the university a month shy of my 23rd birthday. And I was very intentional, strategic, smart goals is what I had as I came out of the university. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. I was to be in management, married, own a house, have 2 children, have a car or 2 parked in the port, take international holiday, at least 1, and another local holiday. You know, Masai Mara, Tsavo, something like that. All this by the time I was 30. Time-bound, by the time I was 30. And you might say, that's a little intense. But then again, we hear it over and over again. We must have dreams that scare us just a little bit out of our sleep. And that's what it was for me. In fact, just to show that I was on my way to attaining my SMART goals, I had a letter of offer into a middle management position as I graduated. A week before graduation, I had my letter in my hand. I wasn't going to tarmac. SMART goals attained. And then, oops! Bumps ahead. 2 months after graduation, I was pregnant. What shall I do? A little crisis right there. What do I tell my mother? What shall people say about her parenting skills? What do I tell my siblings who I am meant to be a role model to? And then again, just like Vincent, a church girl, serving in the church since I was a preteen. What happens? Do I, Linda, have the ability to take care of another human being who relies absolutely and extremely on me? And then there was an external crisis as well. And that's when something like this. Your mother tells me you're pregnant, and it's a little too late to do anything about it. Who's this guy anyway? You've hardly worked. You're meant to be doing your master's. Is he going to marry you? And for sure, all this must have come from a place of love and concern. Only it was distastefully done and a little too untactful. I grew up knowing that actions have consequences. And I wasn't going to do anything other than have this baby that I was bonding with already. Though he made me a little too ill. In fact, the road got a little bit more bumpy. I had to leave this job that was leading me to my SMART goals because of health reasons. It wasn't all bad, though. I had some support. The gentleman that I was having and climbing this bump on the road with, he was with me right into the delivery room. And that gave me courage. And then an ever-present mommy. My mommy, she's a rock. She was there and said, "Sweetheart, this is only a little editing to your script of life, and you shall overcome it. You and the grandchild I await shall do just fine." 17 years ago, just a little over 17 years ago, he came into the world, a baby boy. And for sure, he has been a son and a friend. Motivation for a lot that I do in life, especially because I know that he's watching me every little step of the way to ensure that I'm reaching out for those stars that I tell him to reach out for every single day. And then we go on with life. And you know, what they didn't tell us from the beginning is that this is not one of those motorways that you find in America with no bumps, nothing, it's just freeway. Life has several bumps in it. And by the time I got to 30, I began to question myself. I'm hitting the midway point of life, which we are told in the good book, the Bible, is 70 years. 80, if God is kind with us. And at 35, I began to question, because I didn't quite have even half of my check boxes ticked. I wasn't married. I had a child, one of my two envisioned. And though I wasn't married, the gentleman with whom I had my son and I have chosen a path of co-parenting. I didn't have a house. I wasn't working. I wasn't even running a business at that point. You know, my dream of 2 cars in the garage, I didn't even have a black Mamba. Then when you talk about the holidays, I was living in Mombasa. And I wasn't even able to spend one night in the hotels that surround us, such as Bahari Beach that we are at tonight. And for me, this spelt absolute extreme failure. I had smart goals. 30 has come, it has gone. And we continue. And as life has continued, the pressure increases. You know, every day, the temptation not to weigh myself against my peers is extremely difficult. We are told, and the notion is, that peer pressure exists only in your teenage years. But hey, I've got a story for all of you. Because this place between my dream and my reality has proven that peer pressure follows us on. I know lots of people I was with, primary school, high school, in the university, heading international organizations. Others living extremely jet-set lives. Breakfast in one continent, lunch in between continents, and dinner in another. A seemingly settled family life. Children that give them joy. A house, some of them a house on a hill with a manicured garden. You know, that kind of life. But I have realized that even though my dreams and my SMART goals aren't quite attained, I have lots to thank God for. After all is said and done, what do I, Linda, have to thank God for? A roof over my head, food on the table, clothes on my body, good health, a family that love me ever so dearly, and friends that span this globe and that have my back whenever I need them to have my back. I realize that this life, it's about the relationships that we have. I have the fact that I have been able to play an extremely active role in my son's life to thank God for. Many today struggle to balance family life, education, career, spiritual life, as well as physical life. As I have gone on in this journey of life, I have realized that indeed the bumps are many. But just as drivers slow down, brake, so that you can go over that bump properly, that is what we need to do, and that is what I do with myself every day. In the recent past, I have found myself getting into community development and undertaking several community initiatives, something that I hadn't quite pictured myself doing, but that I do. In fact, I think I've been pretty wild about some of the things that I do. In 2017, I threw myself into the political arena. And when you think of politics in this country, it's an extremely challenging thing, but I took up the challenge. I had the opportunity to be deputy governor candidate to Hassan Omar Hassan in the bid for governorship of Mombasa County. And that for me was a growing and learning experience. Indeed, after all is said and done, I now realize that happiness is not about the things that I thought life should be. It is about celebrating life as it is, living it in God's hands, who for me is the potter and I the clay, for him to do what his powerful and creative hands would have me do.